Good evening, everybody. I want to thank you for being here. Well, David? Okay. And I'd like to start out and ask Reverend Larry Eubanks to come up and lead us in an invocation.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege to be here amongst you tonight. Someday I'll tell you how we came about getting here. I actually had an opportunity to meet some of your people, and they were there in a mighty way. This is an awesome city that you got, Mayor. Of all the pastoring, of all the speaking and revivals that I've done, I'm still scared to death tonight. But when I was asked to come and have this invocation, I like to really depend on God for everything. I don't do it enough. And the thought that has been so heavy on my heart for months now, since we talked with Chris, the city manager, has been for us to do the best we can do. That's a standard that if we could get back in from the street department to the courts, for people to just do the best they can do. You can't criticize someone for doing the best they can do. To some, that's a little. To some, that's a great big amount. We find that if we look in Washington, D.C. at the mighty buildings that have been built there through the years, on virtually every building up there, we find the old Ten Commandments. And I realize today a lot of people are different feelings on religion, but those are about as fair to everybody, regardless of what faith, denomination, national creed that you're from, because they're fair to everybody. Because if I don't steal your lawnmower and you don't steal my lawnmower, we're going to be a better society out of all this. I think America has done so well, but I think we need to do the best we can do. From a city council meeting to my little insurance agency over there in Woodstock, Georgia, I'm reminded of another scripture that talks to us about humbling ourselves before we try to pray. I think that God hears my prayer much better when I humble myself rather than when I just tell him what I want next. The latter doesn't work out very well with me. Some time ago, there was a young man walking down the beach, and he saw a man and his wife and children on up a little further, and he just kept walking till he got there, and all kinds of fish were washing up on the shore. And this man and his wife and children, as best as they could, one at a time, were picking those fish up and putting them back in the ocean. Somehow they had gotten turned around and were washing up on the shore. And he watched the guy. And finally he went over and he said to the guy, he said, you're fighting a losing battle. There's more coming out than you're putting in. And the guy said, yeah. Tell that to the ones that we put back in. You see, you and I are just little specks in this big universe. But our little part, coupled together with his and the mayor's and everybody else's, it's amazing how much good that we can still do in the day we're living in. Can we pray just a moment?
Yes, sir.
Heavenly Father, I come to you the same needy creature that I've always been. I've learned in the last little bit of my life, though, to bow my head in humbleness. I asked you to forgive me because surely I've failed you. But I asked you, Lord, to bless us with wisdom and understanding. Help me to do my very best for you, for people I work with, for my neighbors. Help me, Lord, to just do what's right. In your sweet and holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Milton City Council for Monday, October 17th, 2011 to order. Will the city clerk please call the roll and make announcements?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll be happy to call roll for the October 17th, 2011 regular meeting. I would like to remind those in attendance to please silence all cell phones at this time. Additionally, those attending the meeting who would like to provide public comment either during the public hearing or during the call for public comment, you are required to complete a public comment card prior to speaking on the item. There is no public comment for consent agenda items or items under first presentation. Those called to speak will be taken in the order that the speaker cards were received by the city clerk prior to the beginning of tonight's meeting. All speakers will identify themselves by name, address, and organization if applicable. The City Council may allow public comment on either an agenda item or general public comment from a representative of such an organized group or association, provided, however, that such an individual shall file a notarized affidavit that they have the authority to speak on behalf of said organization on a form provided by the city clerk prior to the agenda item being called. Demonstration of any sort within this chamber is prohibited, so please refrain from any applause, cheering, booing, outbursts, or dialogue with any person speaking. Please show the same respect to the person speaking that you will expect to receive yourself. Anyone in violation will be asked to leave. As I call roll, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Joe Lockwood.
Here.
Councilmember Karen Thurman's absent.
Here.
Great timing. Councilmember Julie Zonner Bailey.
Here.
Councilmember Bill Luss.
Here.
Councilmember Burke Hewitt.
Here.
Councilmember Joe Longoria.
Here.
Councilmember Alan Tartt.
Here.
Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, I want to thank everyone for being here. We're special honored tonight to have Thomas and Zach Eller here, as well as Principal Cliff Jones. Got some proclamations in just the next few minutes we're looking forward to presenting. So thank you guys for being here. City Clerk, please sound the first item.
First item is approval of meeting agenda. Agenda item number 11219.
Do we have any items to be considered?
Mayor, I need to add an executive session for land acquisition, litigation, and personnel.
Okay. Is there anything else? Any other item council has? Okay. So I have a motion and a second with the addition of executive session for land acquisition, litigation, and personnel.
So moved. Second.
Okay. I have a motion with Councilmember Clark, second by Councilmember Hewitt. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Okay. Next item is public comment. First, I'm going to ask, do we have any public comment?
No, sir, we
If we
do
don't
not.
have any public comments, then I'll pass my little speech there then. Move on to the consent agenda. If the city clerk could please sound the item.
First item is approval of the September 19th, 2011 regular council minutes. Agenda item number 11220. Next is approval of the October 3rd, 2011 regular council minutes. Agenda item number 11221. Next is approval of financial statements for the period ending January 2011. Agenda item number 11222. Next, approval of a professional services agreement between the City of Milton and Brumble & Reese and Associates, Inc. for a right-of-way survey at the intersection of Deerfield Parkway and Morris Road. Agenda item number 11223. Our fifth consent agenda item is approval of a construction services agreement between the City of Milton and Hames Residential Properties, LLC, doing business as Direct Build, for various repairs to the Hopewell House property. Agenda item number 11224. Next, approval of a construction services agreement between the City of Milton and Strickland Pipeline and Construction, Inc. for construction of drainage improvements between Dinsmore Road and Scarlet Oak Trail. Agenda item number 11225. Next, approval of a construction services agreement between the City of Milton and Reynolds Inliner, LLC for Hopewell Road drainage improvements Agenda item number 11226. And our eighth and final consent agenda item is approval of a professional services agreement between the City of Milton and Moreland Altobelli Associates, Inc. for professional park planning services, including comprehensive park system master plan, Birmingham Park master plan update, and Milton Trail plan update. Agenda item number 11227.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as prepared by staff.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I've got a motion by Councilmember Lutz, second by Councilmember Bailey. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. We'll move on to reports and presentations. City Clerk, please sound those items.
First item is proclamation honoring Milton High School's top graduation test score. This is being presented by Mayor Joe Lockwood.
Okay, first I just want to welcome Dr. Cliff Jones, principal at Milton High School. Tonight, Dr. Jones is here with us so we as a city may honor Milton High School for not only its continued excellence in academics, but specifically tonight we're going to honor the fact that Milton High School was the #1 institution in Fulton County regarding the 2011 state graduation test, passing just over 94% of its seniors. And more than a third of those who passed did so at the honors level, the highest level of achievement offered by the state. So next I'm going to read this proclamation, then I would ask Dr. Jones to step forward after that. Whereas Milton High School is often celebrated and highly decorated institution of learning that consistently brings accolades to the city of Milton and its families and youth in academics, art, and athletics. And whereas the school is also a touchstone of the community, educating the children of this area for 90 years and fostering generations of leaders that have made the cities of Milton and Alpharetta leaders in business and standard of living. And whereas in the 2011 state graduation test, Milton High seniors not only beat out their fellow North Fulton schools, but schools all across the country, with a score of 94.1. And whereas more than a third of those students passed the test at an honors level, the highest achievement offered by the state. And whereas this is yet another accolade highlighting the excellence of Milton's student body, a reflection of the importance of education and achievement in the families of the city of Milton. And whereas under the tutelage of Milton High School's large, diverse, and unparalleled staff led by Principal Cliff Jones, such excellence has become the standard for the school and the mark by which others are measured. Now therefore, we, the Mayor and the City Council of the City of Milton, Georgia, hereby dedicate and proclaim Monday, October 17th, 2011 as Milton High School Achievement Day in the City of Milton and call this observance to the attention of all of our citizens, given under my hand and seal of the City of Milton, Georgia on the 17th day of October 2011. And I proudly ask Dr. Jones to step forward as well as the rest of the council as we present this proclamation.
Yeah, so we already got it out. Don't worry about that one, no. We have an outlet, a new one, oh, it's good. You are
The party?
That's what it sounds like, doesn't it?
How do we talk about this right now? It's actually what? We'll talk.
You mind if I plug it in or read it?
Halloween came early.
You can do, yeah, however you want to do it.
Although I don't know if the podium is there.
October's flying.
Okay, and also, if you don't mind, this next presentation by Councilmember Bailey, I'd like to say a couple words before you make this presentation. I also want to thank Zach for all that he did this year with the Milton's Farmers Market. So he did a great job putting that together. So we're proud in a couple different ways, but that's wanted to make sure everybody knew that Zach was behind that. So.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, it's a real honor, especially tonight. It's nice that we had a recognition, obviously, of Milton High School, followed by a proclamation of two young people that have been a part of our community and their family for a long time. And this is the second time that we've had the honor of proclaiming a day in honor of Zach and Thomas Eller. And it's a real honor to know them and to be able to be here this evening with them. So with that, I'll read this and then we'll have everybody come down and take some photographs. And as the mayor just mentioned, it's not just about what you do on behalf of pets, which we're talking about today, but also all the things that you guys have been engaged with and continue to be. So thank you. And with that, I will read your proclamation of this evening. Whereas the City of Milton respects and shares the concerns of residents regarding homeless pets and the importance of having safe homes and shelters for these animals. And whereas there are 12 million homeless pets in shelters in the United States, and of those, 100,000 are euthanized in the metro Atlanta area every year alone. Whereas October is National Adopt a Shelter Dog Month and provides a positive opportunity to bring awareness to the issue and to the needs of homeless pets and local shelters. And whereas Zach and Thomas Eller have dedicated their lives to the safety, rescue, and welfare of animals by establishing Wolf 'em Down Dog Biscuits in the spring of 2007, which has gone on to donate more than $13,000 to homeless pets and their shelters. Whereas in 2006, Zach earned the President's Volunteer Service Award, with Thomas following in 2007, and both receiving the award for the last 4 years. Whereas in 2008, Zach and Thomas were both chosen by Disney's Wonder Time magazine and the nonprofit Points of Light Foundation as grand prize winners in the Littlest Volunteers Contest. And Zach, you're not so little anymore, so don't take offense to that term. Whereas in 2008, the brothers were also awarded the Shining World Compassion Award. And whereas Zach was named Middle School Honoree in the Prudential Spirit of Community Awards and given the 2009 Young Hero of North Fulton Award from the Roswell Rotary Club, plus a Citizenship Award from the Daughters of the American Revolution. And whereas Zach was a finalist for the 2010 Humane Teen of the Year Award and received an honorable mention from the Humane Society of the United States and won the local Coles Kids Who Care contest. And whereas the brothers continue their volunteer work both with Wolf 'em Down and other endeavors, including Zach recently running the Milton Market, which was just mentioned, which had its most successful summer yet, and serving on the City of Milton Community Builder Grant Selection Committee. And whereas Zach and Thomas Eller are outstanding examples of young students, leaders, and volunteers residing in the City of Milton, setting a positive example for other youth in the community. Their efforts have helped to motivate other young people in their respective schools and community to get involved and to volunteer on behalf of homeless pets and other initiatives as well. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and City Council of the City of Milton, on October 17th, officially deem today as the Zach and Thomas Eller Adopt a Shelter Pet Day in the City of Milton, Georgia, given under the Mayor's hand and the seal of the City of Milton, Georgia, on the 17th day of October 2011. And I'll say this, and we're going to come down and give you your proclamations, is that the list, I know, will continue to grow. And as was mentioned when we first began this evening, it was saying to do your best. And I couldn't think of a better example. And I told Mrs. Eller I wouldn't get choked up, but I couldn't think of a better example of two young people that do their best every day. And I promised I wouldn't embarrass you by getting choked up, but I'm still trying to hold it back. Because I think you are both tremendous young people, and I know that the world has a lot in store for you, but most importantly, your continued care on so many fronts continues to set an amazing example. And so with that, I'd like your grandmother and your mother and your principal to join us. We'll come down and hand these to you and take a few photographs.
Sorry, you're over here limiting you.
It's all right, I'm going to be writing a nasty letter about the police if that's enough.
Where's this place? 14155 Highway 9. Where's that? Is that in past Is there a restaurant? There's a couple that have gone in. But I don't know who where that is. Yeah, I saw that earlier, and I was like, because I usually try to go sample them. Right.
And we needed to mention that Wolfram Down biscuits are still available. They sold $113 worth at the Milton Roundup, and every dollar goes to an animal in need.
It's amazing kids.
Yeah.
Okay, move on. There's no items under first presentation, so let's move on to the public hearing. Will the city clerk please sound that item?
Approval of the issuance of an alcohol beverage license to Red Sky at Night doing business as Zola Italian Bistro, located at 2955 Bethany Bend, Suites 300 and 400, Milton, Georgia, 3004. The applicant is John E. Chevrolet for consumption on premises, wine, malt, beverages, and distilled spirits. This is agenda item number 11228. Ms. Stacy Inglis.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Good evening. The applicant is simply just a new owner of the property. This is Zola, the Italian Bistro in the new location. So they previously held an alcohol beverage license in this location. They've met all the requirements of the city's ordinances, and staff recommends approval.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this?
No, sir.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and then open up for council if you have any questions of Ms. Inglis. Any questions?
Motion.
Okay, then I'll open up for a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve agenda item 11-228, issuance of an alcohol beverage license to Red Sky at Night doing business as Zola Italian Bistro.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we've got a motion by Councilmember Tartt, second by Councilmember Hewitt. All in favor, or if there's any discussion, additional discussion? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimous. Okay. City Clerk, please call the next item.
Next item is approval of the issuance of an alcohol beverage license to El Molcajete Mexican Restaurant, Inc., located at 14155 Highway 9, Suite 500, Milton, Georgia, 3004. The applicant is Miguel Garcia for consumption on premises, wine, malt beverages, and distilled spirits. This is agenda item number 11229. Ms. Stacy Inglis.
Good evening again. The applicant is actually moving into the old Zola Italian Bistro location down there on Crooked Creek. So this is, they've met all the requirements of the city ordinances and staff recommends approval.
Okay. Do we have any public comment on this item?
No, sir.
Okay. Then I'll close the public hearing and open up if there's any questions.
I have one question.
Okay.
Sudi, would you mind stating who the applicant is again?
Stating the name again?
Yes.
That restaurant's name? You like hearing that?
I do. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You did a very
I
nice
didn't know you had that
job.
Spanish in you.
Google Translator fired up today.
That's the Mexican restaurant over there where Zola used to be. You can call it that, right? All right. There's no discussion. Do I have a motion and a second?
Mayor, I'll put forward a motion. I don't know that I can pronounce it as eloquently as Sudi. I put forward a motion to approve the issuance of an alcohol beverage license to El Molcajete Mexican Restaurant located at 14155 Highway 9, Suite 500, Milton, Georgia, 3004.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I've got a motion by Councilmember Bailey, second by Councilmember Lust. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Yeah, that was good. That was good. Much better than I could have done.
Thank you, Sudi, for the help.
All right, thank you, Stacy. If we can move on to the zoning agenda, will the city clerk please read the zoning rules and sound the next item?
At the second regularly scheduled meeting of the month, the mayor and city council consider a zoning agenda. These items include rezoning petitions, modifications of zoning, use permits, and associated concurrent variances, in addition to ordinances, resolutions, and text amendments. The petitions will be heard in the sequence listed on the posted agenda. I would like to acquaint you with some of the rules and procedures for this meeting. The applicant and all those speaking in support of an application will be allowed a total of 10 minutes to present the petition. The applicant may choose to save some of the time for rebuttal following the presentation by the opposition. Since the burden of proof is upon the applicant will be allowed to make closing remarks provided time remains with the allotted time. The city clerk will be keeping track of time and will inform you periodically of the remaining time for your presentation. Those called to speak will be taken in the order that the speaker cards were received by the city clerk prior to the beginning of tonight's meeting. All speakers will identify themselves by name, address, and organization, if applicable, before beginning their presentation. The Planning Commission heard the rezoning agenda items and recommendations were forwarded to the mayor and city council for consideration and disposition. The applicant shall not submit material to the council during this meeting unless requested to do so. All material that you wish to be reviewed by the council in consideration of your application should be submitted to the staff of the Department of Community Development to be included in the normal distribution of packages to the council. When an opponent of a rezoning action has made within 2 years immediately preceding the filing of the rezoning action being opposed, campaign contributions aggregating $250 or more to a local government official of the local government, which will consider the application, it shall be the duty of the opponent to file a disclosure with the governing authority of the respective local government at least 5 days prior to the Planning Commission meeting. The violation of relevant state statute constitutes a misdemeanor. Therefore, if you have contributed $250 or more to a council member and you have not filed a disclosure prior to the Planning Commission meeting, the city attorney strongly suggests that you have someone else speak for your point of view. Our zoning agenda item tonight is RZ 1116, approval of an ordinance to amend Chapter 64, Article 18 of the City of Milton zoning ordinance. Chapter 64 of the City Code of Ordinances to amend the Historic Preservation Commission ordinance. Agenda item number 11215. First presentation was heard October 3rd, 2011, during the regular council meeting. It was also discussed at the October 10th, 2011 work session. Ms. Kathleen Field.
April 22nd of this year, the HPC submitted the HPC ordinance to the State Georgia Historic Preservation Division for their review and comment on this ordinance. The state subsequently submitted recommended changes to this ordinance. Highlights of these changes included the following: removal of all references to the historic zoning district. They recommended that more definitions be added. They recommended that to reduce the size of the HPC, to remove all references to historical site of interest, to remove references to erecting markers at historical sites. Also, they recommended strengthening the language for retaining outside professional help. And finally, to reduce the number of days the HPC has to recommend and transmit their decision to the mayor and city council regarding a certificate of appropriateness. These recommended changes were reviewed by the HPC and subsequently by the Planning Commission, and both bodies did agree to the changes. Subsequent to that, the mayor and city council reviewed these proposed changes at the work session last week. At that work session, an issue did come up, and I would ask you all, if you would, to move to page 9 of the proposed ordinance and look at section 64-2455, which is entitled Application to HPC for Certificate of Appropriateness. In this paragraph, staff has try to clarify language, and then also as a result of discussion last week, we've added a sentence. First, in terms of speaking to the clarification of language, we want to make it very clear that in an historic district, when you have a contributing structure, that the HPC has the authority to review that application and to issue a certificate of appropriateness. So, contributing structure in historic district. When it's a non-contributing structure, however, that authority rests with the DRB, and they have the authority to review and issue a certificate of endorsement. So there's a distinction, and we wanted to make sure that it was clear in here. And in addition, we put the definition for certificate of endorsement up on the front page under definitions, right underneath certificate of appropriateness, so that both certificates are dealt with under the definition category. And so that, again, is to make it very clear who has authority, because it is a split authority depending on contributing or non-contributing. And then lastly, we did add a sentence, and this came out of discussion last week, in terms of when the DRB was considering a non-contributing building, that they should have access to information about the historic district and use that as part of their consideration, or part of their deliberation for consideration of the certificate of endorsement. So we did add that sentence, and the sentence reads as follows: the DRB shall be informed of any pertinent information as it relates to the historic district in which said structure is located. So I hope that speaks to the concern that was raised by.
Thank you.
And that is it. I'm certainly available for any questions.
Are there any questions right now? Captain? Bill?
What's the basis of this certificate of endorsement? Where does it come from? What's the history on it? Is it taken from someone else's ordinance?
Yes, article within the zoning ordinance. It's under the overlay district guidelines. There's a section in the zoning ordinance that pertains to what the overlay district, trying to think, it's giving them the authority, the DRB, and one of the authorities that the Design Review Board has is to issue a certificate of endorsement. which basically gives the permission to go ahead and build a building per whatever overlay district standards, and it meets it and, gives their seal of approval before they obtain a building permit. So we're just doing the same thing, acknowledging that for non-contributory buildings.
So this appears in another section
Yes,
of
it
the code
does.
then?
Yes,
Yes,
in
and-
the overlay section.
Yes.
We lifted out that definition from the other overlays, that certificate of endorsement, and put it in here just for clarification.
Thank you.
Alan?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make sure I understand the process. So right now, we don't have any districts that have been deemed historic, or do we? No. Okay. Is there plans to do so in the future? And Crabapple comes to mind.
Yes.
Okay. And so therefore, if there were a building in Crabapple that wanted to be deemed historic, and that were also deemed a historic district, but it also had an overlay, who would be making the determination? And would there be a certificate endorsement issued by the DRB, or would there be a certificate of appropriateness issued by the HPC?
It would have to be determined whether it was a contributing structure or not.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
And that's the point at which you can take off one way or
And if it's contributing, then the HPC would do it. Okay. Gotcha.
Typically, the DRB really makes recommendations, but their stuff is not binding, or if it is, they can come back before the council. If the DRB doesn't issue a certificate of appropriateness, what is the method for a applicant to appeal that decision?
it would be appealable to the city council.
So it would be just like any other.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, any other questions right now for staff? Do we have any public comment on this?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, then I'll close the public hearing.
Does that need to state that in here? Because it says it cannot proceed without a DRB issuing a certificate of appropriateness. Does somewhere in there, does the appeal thing need to be stated? Because
So you're talking solely of a non-contributory building
Right.
to the DRB, and if there's not resolution with that, is
Right.
that what you're saying?
Right.
Let me just double check, because I think that it might become a secondary variance, which would actually go to the DRB, if that's.
Does it go to the DRB
And it
or
does
to
have
the-
nothing to do with the historic, if it's non-contributory.
if it's a non-contributing, it says here, a building permit should not be issued without a certificate of appropriateness. What happens if the DRB refuses to issue a certificate of appropriateness? What's their next step? Because, there's got to be another step if they don't issue.
Well, I think you're mixing up a certificate of appropriateness is what the HPC issues. And so I don't know what you're saying. If you mean the HPC, if they don't issue the certificate of appropriateness, what happens? That's
Well, it says a
different.
certificate of appropriateness for non-contributing buildings shall be considered by the DRB after a public hearing. And then it says a building permit shall not be issued without a certificate of appropriateness.
I think you're looking at not the one that I handed out this evening.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay.
the newer one, I'm sorry.
Is there a newer one here? Okay.
Yeah, I was
Yeah, 'cause
going to
they've been-
ask about that because
Yeah.
we just got this. This was laid on our desk
Yes,
today.
this is the
It
one
is.
we'd like you to look at. This is the most recent changes based on the discussions of last week.
Well, just looking in that paragraph that we were just talking about, it's fairly different. So if the rest of the document is fairly different, are we going to have a chance to really go
No,
over
that's
it all?
not. We just decided to
Okay.
reprint the whole thing. The only things that are different is we added the definition on the front page of certificate of endorsement on page 1.
Right.
And then the rest of it is on page 9.
Okay.
That paragraph.
All right.
And we fixed that confusion between the endorsement and the appropriateness, because there was some problems with that from that we discovered this past week.
So if they refuse to issue a certificate of endorsement, then it would go through the regular appeals process. If anything else going before the DRB? Or what is the
Correct.
next
I mean,
step?
if they do not get that, then there's a procedure through the design review board, and I would need to double check that, but I believe it is to do a secondary, to do some sort of variance, probably first to the community development director, which is called a secondary variance.
Because it says a building permit shall not be issued without a certificate of appropriateness or endorsement. but it doesn't really state what would happen if they refuse to issue one.
In accord with ordinary and normal DRB processes and
Yeah.
procedures. So if that's normal, then that answers the question.
Appeals, this is for the DRB.
Okay.
Appeals are to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Any appeal of a decision of the Board of Zoning Appeals. So basically, and then if they disagree with that, then they can go to Superior Court.
Okay.
So it's the same process as is in place in our other documents.
As far as the HPC, it should be addressed in the ordinance.
Okay. Any other questions?
I just have a comment. Thank you, Mayor. It would appear that because of the changes that have been made to Section 64-2455, that it should be retitled to application to the HPC or DRB for a certificate of appropriateness or endorsement, because you changed the scope of the paragraph.
Okay. Do I have a motion and a second?
Mayor, I'll put forward a motion. I'd put forward a motion to approve RZ 11-16, approval of an ordinance to amend Section Chapter 64 of the City of Milton zoning ordinance, Chapter 64 of the City Code of Ordinances, to amend the Historic Preservation Commission ordinance, including on page 9 the extension of the title to include or DRB for certificate of endorsement.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we've got a motion by Councilmember Bailey, second by Councilmember Lusk. Any more discussion?
Just one. The original ordinance was introduced by Karen and myself 4 years ago, and I'm finally happy to see this whole process put in place, and hopefully now we can get something done with the historic structures that are remaining in this city and move forward on it. So, happy day.
Amen.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Okay, we don't have any items under unfinished business, so we'll move on to new business. Will the city clerk please sound the items?
Approval of a grant application to the Department of Homeland Security for the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program sponsored by FEMA for the purchase of fitness equipment for the fire stations to support our wellness initiative. This is agenda item number 11230. Mr. Matt Mariano.
Good evening. Both of these grant items are in the same grant cycle for the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program, which is the same program that brought us the SAFER grant for hiring the 3 firefighters that we're still operating under, and also a grant where we received exhaust extractors for all of our fire apparatus. These 2 items represented an attempt to find alternate means of funding in the economy in the situation that it is right now, and to try to be as good stewards of the city of Milton, the citizens of the city of Milton's money as possible. This first item, a couple years ago, the city began a wellness initiative for the fire department, which includes, it's recommended by the NFPA, and it includes some baseline physical testing, and then also the implementation of a mandatory physical fitness program. The reason for this is that year after year, statistics show that the largest number of firefighters that die in the line of duty die of heart attacks, and it's because of the absolute rush of activity that comes when we respond on a structure fire or another emergency event. So there's a big push to try to increase the level of fitness for the firefighters. So when they get that sudden call where they have to jump up and be ready to act, that they're in good enough shape to be able to withstand it physically. Like I said, the first step to this, which we've already implemented, is a physical assessment, more of a medical kind of an approach. We also have implemented a mandatory physical exercise period for all of our firefighters while they're on duty. But at this point, it's kind of hodgepodge. We don't really have facilities or any kind of consistent equipment for that. This grant right here represents an attempt to provide consistent facilities throughout all of the stations, and it anticipates the 4th station that we're looking at in the Highway 9 area as well in the application for a weight machine, a Stairmaster step machine, which will also be used for our annual physical agility assessment of all of our firefighters, and then a few other pieces of equipment that are specific to firefighting. The total grant request that this application includes is $35,200, and as is typical with this grant, there is a 10% match. So the city, if it's awarded, would have to match $3,500.
Okay. Any questions from
I'll
that
take
on
any
that?
question.
I have one other question.
Julie?
Just what's the timing? When would we expect to know? What
Yeah, it all depends. They go through multiple iterations of the grant cycle where they'll review them, and then there'll be a stage 1 where they give out the first set of awards and then look at how much money they've got left and then go and do stage 2.
Seems like a terrific program, obviously.
Yeah, within a year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Have a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item 11-230, approval of a grant application to the Department of Homeland Security for the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program sponsored by FEMA for the purchase of fitness equipment for the fire stations to support our wellness initiative.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Hewitt, second by Councilmember Thurman. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. The city clerk, please sign the next item. Don't sit down, Matt.
Approval of a grant application to the Department of Homeland Security for the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program, sponsored by FEMA for the purchase of a multi-purpose pumper rescue. Agenda item number 11231. Mr. Matt Marietta.
This item, through the same grant cycle, is anticipating the introduction of the new station in the Highway 9 area. Obviously, this is our most populous area in the city, and we don't have a fire station or an apparatus that's actually sitting within this zone. Our automatic aid agreement with Alpharetta has been very helpful in providing much better coverage than we could have if we didn't have that arrangement. But we'd also like to have our own presence in the area. What this does is anticipate us needing to put a piece of apparatus in that station, and what we're looking at is trying to come up with the most flexible piece of equipment possible, recognizing the high percentage of our calls are medical calls, and recognizing the expense of driving a large fire engine with a whole bunch of water in the back of it up and down the road on a medical call. So we're trying to minimize that, but then also recognizing that we get some kind of a benefit as far as ISO and insurance is concerned by actually having a pump capable apparatus in this area. So what we're trying to look for is some kind of more flexible pump capable rescue apparatus of something of a smaller variety than what we already have in our fleet. The current quotes, and this is kind of a boutique item at this point, is not readily available. But the current quotes from the companies that we're looking at that could provide this apparatus are around $350,000. And that's the level of the grant request. And again, this has a 10% match. So if we were awarded this grant, we'd have a $35,000 match.
Questions for Matt? Bill?
What's this going to require in staffing?
I'll take that, Matt, because I know that's one of those questions that tries to predict the future. There potentially is a staffing component that goes along with this. There's the potential that there doesn't necessarily have to be a staffing component. I talked to Matt about this earlier in the week, and I said, what we can't do is authorize a grant that's going to commit the city to personnel. And so it's a very good question. The response to that is, if you all approve this application tonight, and if this piece of equipment happens to, by some circumstance, be awarded, it doesn't come with the absolute 100%. Now I get the golden ticket. I get to come and ask for a whole bunch of people. We will need to address personnel and staffing in subsequent years for this Highway 9 property. But just because you're approving tonight, I don't want you to think that you're approving a tricky way of us guaranteeing the fact that we need to increase the size of the department. Let's keep them as two separate items, but it's a fair question. We could absolutely take this piece of apparatus and mesh it into our existing structure, and it'd be a very good thing.
Anybody else? Anna?
Mayor, I make a motion.
Okay. Any other questions? I'll entertain the motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item 11-231, approval of a grant application to the Department of Homeland Security for the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program sponsored by FEMA to purchase a multi-purpose pumper rescue.
I'll second.
motion.
We have a motion by Councilmember Clark and a second by Councilmember Hewitt. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you, Matt. Okay, we'll move on to reports, and start out, just want to thank our staff, and John's still here.
He was a little bit under the weather. So
Okay, we had a hard weekend, but and I know Bert wants to give a short report on the roundup. I just want to thank everybody for everything they did. It was certainly a big success. So.
Well, we had several staff people that I think went out over and above. Starting with John Rebar, he came into this thing about 2 months before and took it and ran with it and did a really fine job. And Tom Gillum with our Parks Department, and Sudie was there helping check in people and all that kind of good stuff that morning. And Jason Wright did a lot of stuff with our advertisements, getting the word out there. Cindy Eade was our volunteer coordinator, and I think we had more volunteers this year than we've ever had before. Rick Pierce was there into the evening helping us break down, and a few citizens, Travis and Tiffany Allen, who have always helped out, were there again, and Joan Borzalleri. We probably had about as many people as we had last year. It was a real good event. Heard nothing but positive things, and appreciate the city allowing us to do it again, and thanks to the Birmingham Methodist Church for hosting it. It was a really fun event. Look forward to it next year as well.
Yeah, I would agree. So, thank you, Bert, for everything you've done on that. So, anything else, Council? Karen?
Well, I was just going to say thank you to Quantum Bank, because I don't believe we've had a council meeting since they had their 5th anniversary celebration. And for those who aren't aware, they gave the city a check for $500 to go to our tree fund. So I just want to publicly say thank you to them and for thinking of us. And hopefully we will be there. They will be around for another 5 years. For those who aren't aware of 5, I guess the 5th year anniversary is wood, and so that's what they chose to give us the money for the tree fund. But thank you to them.
Okay. I got one other thing real quick, too. I also wanted to thank the folks from Optech were really a big help this year, from setting up to tearing down and getting ready. So we appreciate their partnership with us on that, too.
Okay. Julie, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to remind everybody that this weekend is Rivers Alive, and in concert with the City of Milton, with Milton Grows Green and Bailey Farm and Gardens, we'll be out cleaning up waterways and roadways, as we've done for many, many years. So we are looking for trash, and we've had a lot of volunteers out looking at waterways and other places. So if you're aware of any particular waterway that's in need, by all means let us know. But that'll be this Saturday from 9 to 1. And all are welcome. And we'll start at Bailey Farm and Gardens. But what we then do is obviously go out to roadways. We go to waterways all over the city. So we're always still on the hunt. And a lot of times, even if we were to have a lot of rain between now and Saturday, it sometimes affords us another opportunity to go to some other waterways. And so, Carter, if you're aware of anything within the city that's in particular need, please let us know. Joe did that because we were talking about clean water. And so it was a great visualization to remember that clean water is important. So just thank you, and thank you to Cindy Eade and all the volunteers of Milton Grows Green as well.
All right. We'll, baptize my son.
A couple of quotes, and then we'll move on to executive session. I'm going to ask in just a second. Maybe you can start to walk this way, and I'm going to throw him on the spot, but I know he's capable of it. If Carter would maybe just give a quick update on what's you're about to start seeing on Birmingham Highway, just because it's going to be.
I've already had complaints from people who said they fell off the road.
Wow.
at night.
So we'll give an
Thought she-
update
she
on
thought she
on
was
a
gonna
project that really we don't have any control over, but we'll give you an update as to what's going to happen out there. It's not one we can really speak to. We'll take it more from a perspective of, let's say, what's happening.
Which one am I updating?
GDOT
GDOT paving?
GDOT project.
GDOT's in the process of repaving 372 from Crabapple up to the county line. They started at Chicken Creek, working their way back towards Crabapple, and they'll turn around and head back up to the county line, working 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. Sunday through Friday night. I think they take Friday night off, start again on what we would think of as Sunday night. So that'll probably be going on for the next three weeks until they complete that project.
Do we need to get information out to people? Because I know I sat last night and waited for about 20 minutes in the car when they had the road blocked off, just to kind of let people know that it's blocked.
Well, it was partly kind of why I brought it up during the staff report when yes, we've gotten some word out, but there's also some people that are sitting in the audience that have the capabilities of getting word out, which would be helpful if they would help us out with that. But yes, the more word we can get out, the better. Obviously, GDOT has signed it more than a month ago, saying that there was going to be work that was coming up. I drove on Birmingham Highway, when was it? Yesterday evening, as a matter of fact. And said, I'm going home on Freemanville just to get off of it. So you only get
It was
caught in
stopped
it
for a
once.
while.
Right. So
You can get stuck. I got stuck there, and until I said, "Hey, I'm the mayor," and they let me go through.
They wouldn't let me go
No,
through.
I'm kidding. No, yeah. Is it something? Have we sent out an email blast?
We did put in some information out on our website with some information on the project, as well as the district area contact number. If anybody had any issues with the project, they could contact GDOT directly.
the good news is that we should be mindful of the fact that this project was probably a couple of years off, and we're just excited that it's being done now.
Yeah. It's going to be a great improvement.
That road was starting to methodically fall apart. So it's good that they're out there doing what they're doing.
Thank you, Carter.
Only other thing I'm going to ask for is, and occasionally I ask for these, so I'm going to ask for it tonight, sometime in the next 2 weeks, if everybody would be willing to look at their calendars, and I'll try my best to work with your. I've got a list of things that I would like to talk with you each about individually, just so I can go into a level of detail that I think we need to get into on a couple of topics. Quite candidly, they're all on a list of stuff I'm dealing with Ken, so it's probably one of those things that I get to talk about with each of you individually or collectively in executive session about anyway. But we're at a point that there's several things I'd really like to get some of the details to you on.
And just what's the date, Bud?
None of them are terribly time sensitive.
So even
but
in the next 2 weeks. Okay.
Yeah. None of them are terribly time sensitive. There's levels of detail I would like to get each of you and be able to sit with you and explain to a level of detail you're comfortable with.
Okay, thanks.
Having said that, I believe we're ready to move into executive session.
Okay.
I move that we adjourn to executive session to discuss land acquisition, litigation, and personnel.
I'll second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second that we adjourn into executive session. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Thanks, Ron. I thought that was going to be longer.
No, I'm good.
Sure we could.
I agree with Bill. We beat that horse.
We are an encouraging community.
I'll move to reconvene the regular meeting.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I'll move to adjourn the regular meeting.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion's passed.